Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and it looks like there's a new kaiju movie on the horizon for the year 2018. A while back, it was announced that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be in a film adaptation of the video game Rampage. Since then, news has been kinda slow in coming. I don't know if it's because there just wasn't a lot of it getting out to the public, or because most sites were more concerned about the latest Marvel and DC movies. But either way, I haven't really noticed much in the way of news. And then suddenly, a trailer. I've provided links in the description so you can see it for yourselves. I of course have already seen it, and I'm here to share my thoughts. Honestly, I am curious, but I'm not entirely sure about it. This much I can tell you for sure, it looks like it will be very different from the games. Even though I've said in the past that I'm not really much of a gamer, I have played Rampage, and its sequel, Rampage World Tour. Having both done this and done a lot of research on it, I consider myself qualified to speak on the subject. Not that there's really much to be qualified on, mind you. Rampage began life as an arcade game, eventually moving over to consoles. It is about as basic in premise as you can get. The player has the choice of 3 giant monsters to take control of: George the Gorilla, Lizzie the Lizard, or Ralph the Wolf. Once you've selected your monster, you basically destroy a city. And then you keep destroying cities until you get the high score. Really, that's it. Of course, what really made Rampage distinct was how very tongue-in-cheek it was. As you can tell from these screen grabs, it has a very cartoony style. And there are all sorts of jokes hidden throughout. Destroy a building and you can find anything from a toilet to a man showering to a giant bag of money. All sorts of different things. Also worth noting, of course, is the origin of the monsters. George, Lizzie, and Ralph were regular human beings who got mutated by, get this, drinking chemically enhanced soda. Once the health bars had been depleted, the monsters didn't die, they just turned back into regular human beings who had to quickly cover up their nakedness and get off screen as quickly as possible. So right off the bat, the movie has made some very big alterations. George, Lizzie, and Ralph are no longer people, they are in fact animals that were mutated by something which falls out of the sky. No word yet on whether or not it's alien. And of course the second change is the tone. According to this trailer, Rampage the movie is going to be much more serious than the game it's based on. Now of course there are plenty of examples for trailers that misrepresent the film, and it doesn't look like the movie is going to be Man of Steel serious. But it's definitely not going to be the over-the-top cartoon that the original games are. Now, I am of two minds about this. On the one hand, I do question these choices, seeing as how they were part of what made the games distinct. But on the other hand, I'm not going to sit here and act like Rampage is some nuanced avant-garde piece of art. Just because I've been doing that with Godzilla movies recently doesn't mean I can do that with everything. Rampage is 100% surface level, and there's nothing wrong with that. Besides, if you'd never heard of the games before and your only exposure to them were these screen grabs, would you have known these monsters were mutated humans if I hadn't told you? I'm guessing you wouldn't have. Rampage the game doesn't even really have a plot, to be honest, so it's kind of a blank slate. I personally don't mind George, Lizzie, and Ralph being monsters from the outset, or rather animals who become monsters. I'm sure they could have done something interesting had they kept the human aspect, but really that doesn't bother me very much. The change in tone is a bit more concerning, but again, trailers have been known to mislead audiences before. Honestly, the biggest thing we should be concerned about regarding Rampage the movie is that it's based on a video game, and movies based on video games have a terrible track record. Super Mario Bros. Is the stuff of legend, Prince of Persia was bland, Assassin's Creed was even blander, Tomb Raider was okay in my opinion, but the sequel was terrible, and admit it everyone, you always forget that Resident Evil has a long-running movie series until you see the trailer for the latest installment. At which point you think, wow, they're still making those? Of course, Rampage does have an advantage over these titles. Technically, it's an entry in a genre that got its start in the movies. And the primary focus of the games was on the best parts of those movies, namely, the Rampages. So there is a chance that could work in the movie's favor. I guess we'll find out for certain come April. Oh, and it's also worth noting that this is a co-production between New Line Cinemas and Warner Brothers. That would of course be the same Warner Brothers that's producing the Monsterverse. Now, at this point, there is no word about whether or not Rampage is going to be incorporated into the Monsterverse. As of now, it's a standalone, entirely its own thing. If it's successful, though? Who knows? Well, anyway, that's another movie to add to the list. What do you guys think? Does the trailer have you excited, concerned, or indifferent? Are you also a fan of the original games? How does your knowledge of the source material affect how you view the trailer? As always, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off.